And this conversation has totally captured our minds for the past 2 weeks since we started to talk about it here on Joy News. And this morning, the minority in Parliament is addressing the press on the comprehensive sexuality education. We're taking you live now.
He promised that it will happen. With respect to the LGBT activities on the global scene, where he openly and subtly lends support to this agenda. So therefore, don't be surprised that you are hearing this and that he's the lead anchor of this process championed by the Lesbian Gay Society. The hypocrisy of President Nana Addo Dankwa, who unlike his colleague African leaders have failed to take a firm and definite bold position on the LGBT question, is now crystal clear to the Ghanaian people. How you wish that if the cathedral was completed, it would be used to observe gay and lesbian practice as the home of the Church of God. Imagine. We are deeply concerned as a minority that whilst many countries in this contemporary time and age is focusing on the teaching of math science and artificial intelligence, matters of climate change and good governance, sexuality education is at the heart of the president's basic education curriculum. The choice of age is not only inappropriate, but threatening that the moral socialization of our children will be left to right morals unknown and unacceptable to us as a Ghanaian people. It is, however, interesting for us to note that under the NDC, this is not the first time we are receiving support for secondary education improvement project. At least I recall a 156 million World Bank support. We saw the construction of more senior high schools with staff flats, teachers' bungalows, canteens, upgrading of low-performance senior high school under the quality facilities upgrade component. At least I also recall under President Mahama a $70 million from the Africa Development Bank to address the crisis with technical vocational education and training. At least the Bopa Technical and Tamale benefited from it, I can recall. And 80 million for the Ghana Reading Action Plan from USAID under the Learning Initiative. We note that all these projects were declared active with substantial funds left in the accounts of the Ministry of Education. When they wake up, they say that, oh, the NDC left debt. Part of the debt is what you inherited for purpose of supporting the infrastructure development of senior high school and related matters from 7th January. But we have taken judicial notice of the pathetic attempt by the Minister for Education, the Honorable Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, at the press briefing on 1st October 2019 to deny government's involvement and complicity in its active implementation of this CSE agenda. You recall the same minister even attempting to blame President Mahama and the NDC for failed placement into senior high school and blaming hijackers and hackers for that purpose. We want to draw attention to some matters that is important for you that you focus on as a media. That evidence known and available to us indicate that it is being funded by a Swedish government which has so far committed 22 million United States dollars for the initiative. The Ghanaian government has already assured her international partners that they will do everything politically possible, I'm quoting, to overcome social resistance and operational constraints. God forbid. As for this, we will resist it. We will resist it because it will amount to some moral and cultural terrorism if it was to succeed. We are also aware that government and the UNFPA have entered into an agreement for the UNFPA to provide CSE technical support to the Ghana Education Service. So when they wake up and say that they are not aware of it, they have an arrangement with the United Nations Population Fund for them to provide technical support for the sexuality education curriculum. Additionally, we are aware, so you can put it in contrast. It is not as if we are unaware that they have signed a contract with CSCE Project Implementation Officer operating from the UNESCO Ghana office. The denial by the minister, therefore, is not only naked, but is inconsistent with the truth. We are also aware that the Girl Child Education Unit of the Ghana Education Service organized a one-week workshop at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology for training of trainers for the implementation of this particular CSA. This workshop is here, was held from 26th to 30th August 2019 and was addressed by Deputy Director Lawyer Boatin on behalf of the Minister for Education. So when they wake up and they want to speak with a double tongue on this matter, it is only you, the media, which must do a much more thorough journalistic investigation to indicate where they stood few months and a year ago and where they are seeking to belong today. We cannot reconcile it, but at least we are giving you primary evidence of a commitment by this government led by Nana Addo Dankwa to introduce this. Interestingly, the Minister for Education has quickly forgotten that in the 2019 budget statement presented to Parliament, the comprehensive sexuality education featured very prominently. You can go to page 86 of the budget. So you cannot run away from this mess, is our message to the President and his ministers. We have the State of the Nation address, and he indicated how he was going to, in page 7, State of the Nation address, in September 2019, a new standard, I'm quoting the President, based curriculum will be rolled out from kindergarten to class 6 in primary schools. So we didn't know that it was sexuality curriculum he was talking about when he appeared before us. You can imagine your child returning from school with a condom in his mouth, what he wants to do with it, or what he's learned to know about it. Only you, the parent, will be disappointed. And in the budget, hear them. Mr. Speaker, the National Population Council, in consultation with other stakeholders, developed a comprehensive sexuality education for incorporation into the national education curriculum, unquote. So this one is like running in a market and saying that nobody should question you whether you have done something wrong or not. They don't run in a market. Alaji, I don't intend to pay royalties. So if you see them running in a market, it means something has gone amiss. The budget statement exposes them, and it continued. The Council reviewed policies that improve structural barriers to condom use. So they themselves, I didn't just mention the condom in the child's mouth for purposes. I was referencing that this is what they want children to return home. As a matter of fact, our international sources inform us that some Western nations are so impressed with the lead role Ghana is currently playing as regards the CSE implementation that they have promised additional funding and pledged additional funding. So, Mr. President and the Minister, why the denial? I don't intend to attempt to answer this question. Why the denial? Ladies and gentlemen, the conduct of the Minister in this sordid affair is unbecoming of him, and therefore we do not find his word and leadership to the Ghanaian people credible. The minister's own teachers have exposed him with page 11 of the teacher resource pack for primary 1 to 6, which simply contradicts the minister's assertion in his signed statement that there is no inclusion of the sexuality education in this matter. Contrary to claims by the minister and GS that CSE is not in the just introduced new curriculum, which came into effect only last month, we've given you evidence from State of the Nation through budget statement, so the facts are now yours. The job is yours as media to expose their apparent contradiction and to expose their inconsistencies and to expose their half-truths on this matter as a lead sponsor and promoter of lesbian and gayism in this country. Ladies and gentlemen, for the avoidance of doubt, you can go to the page XX-XXI of the approved English language curriculum in use today. Says, among other things, the materials that focus on comprehensive sexuality education. Comprehensive sexuality education. So it is there for you. Basic 1 and 3, pages XXI. You can go to it. Again, the same pages under primary 4 to 5. Item 9 is designated comprehensive sexuality education. Under primary 6, item 1 in the curriculum is also assigned as comprehensive sexuality education. Why the denial? Clearly, the capture of comprehensive sexuality education in the educational language curriculum for primary schools confirm the actualization of a promise the Minister for Education made at the launch of the UNESCO Comprehensive Sexuality Education Program called Our Right, Our Lives, Our Future. So it includes their rights. Europeans don't have better rights and morals than us as Ghanaians. How I wish to add that I look forward to the day when I would see a pregnant male of any species to appreciate that you don't question the omnipotence of God in this matter. The president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference, and we want to recognize our admiration for the religious leaders of this country for standing firm, strong, determined, with their unconditional resolve to reject the attempt by President Nana Addo Dankwa to water down our respected values, cultural and religious norms. Not forgetting the National Chief Imam and other Muslim sheikhs who have also spoken on this matter, including the Catholic Bishops' Conference, Most Reverend Philip Name. I can understand him, I know him personally, and he won't abandon values for pursuit of political expediency, a respected Catholic bishop. So, to our religious leaders, we admire the leadership provided and trust that the president will endeavor to emulate. Having carefully considered the embarrassing circumstances, the litany of falsehood, the disrespect to the sensibilities of Ghanaians, the naked insult to our intelligence, and shameless attempts to cover up as if they are unaware or they know not comprehensive sexuality education. I'm sure the president probably presided over a cabinet which approved the budget statement. Those of you who are familiar with budget, I've had the small privilege to serve in government. Even the budget is presented for and on behalf of the president. Therefore, the budget statement in which comprehensive sexuality education was mentioned, Kenovoria don't own it. It's above you. It was the president's budget, and therefore it was the president's comprehensive sexuality education policy that you so announced publicly to the Ghanaian people. President John Dramani Mahama, as he then was, as I've indicated, of the NDC, joins Ghanaians who still have morals and respect those morals and those values, together with the minority in parliament, that this temptation will resist it. in all force. Many of you may be wondering, anytime the minority speaks, we are ignored. But the truth will always rest with us on many, many issues. The redolent nature.
And that was Minority Leader of Parliament, Honorable Haruna Iddrisu, speaking on comprehensive sexuality education. Now, he tells us that some trainers have definitely been trained so that it can be filtered into the curriculum. He also talks about some funding that the government may have received from the Swedish government. He points out part of the curriculum where it's clearly stated where CSE has been fixed in and will be implemented. He took some time to commend the religious leaders of the country who have fought hard to resist the introduction of CSE into our schools and into our children's lives. We'll bring you so much more on that as that story continues to develop. But this has been News Desk here on Joy News TV. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful weekend. My name is Enimwa Enimado. I'll see you again on Monday. Coming up next is Mapito Sidibi with Joy News Interactive.